Thank you for everyone for attending our session. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Tao Lei, and I'm going to be joined today also by Nirupa Cowther. And on Q&A, we have Camila and Brian, who will be engaging with you on any questions you have during our session. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I've worked at Microsoft for about 10 years now. I work in customer storytelling and advocacy, and I am really excited to be here today to talk about the BabyBot. This is a bot built in Teams, and it's centered around the notion of becoming a new parent and how overwhelming of an experience this is all on its own. But there's so much to prepare for, there's so many changes happening, and then to navigate that in the work environment as well with all of these changes can bring a lot of anxiety, confusion, uncertainty. And so using bot technology, we're going to share with you today how we went about tackling these challenges that new parents face. And if you have any questions, just let us know. Please put them in the Q&A chat, and we look forward to addressing them within the chat and at the end of the session as well. So the challenges as a new parent, you don't know what you don't know. It's such a learning curve to become a new parent and to prepare. The BabyBot came about because myself, along with two other new moms at Microsoft, Camila and Angela, happened to start chatting in the mother's room and realized there were many challenges that new parents face with regards to information, support, and we decided to come together and create a hackathon project focusing on this parental experience. In our first hackathon, we set out to understand what are the challenges that new parents face and what concerns this audience has that we could help address. We saw that employees tend to go to their peers to find information rather than searching company resources. And policies and documentation around how to apply for leave can sometimes be confusing because when you read it is not necessarily when you need to use it. And soon-to-be new parents feel overwhelmed. It is just a big journey, a lot of new things happening, as I mentioned before. So we were able to summarize a lot of these sentiments through a survey that we did. And what we saw was that there's a host of challenges before leave and then returning to leave. Policy confusion, concern over your future, your career, your promotion ambitions, challenges with just understanding benefits, what's covered, what's not. And then getting manager support. There's this notion of benevolent unconscious bias that can come into play in terms of, being considered for job opportunities or projects. And then coming back from work. There's sometimes can be lack of understanding of what it's like to be a new parent returning to the workforce. There's the physical hardship of a new parent, on average losing about 700 hours of sleep in the first year of a child's life. And then there's the cultural bias of, oh, this is a parent, this motherhood penalty of maybe not being ready for this next big project or this next big deliverable. And manager approach. Again, I think having that support and that system shows that, if managers also lean in, employees can feel much more supported. So with that survey and understanding that, we received executive support through kind of just driving awareness of the survey findings that we had. So the following year in Hackathon, which by the way, Hackathon is our internal company-wide supported event where we can develop and create new things, new ways of solving things with technology and partnerships across the company. So the following hackathon, we created a BabyBot pilot, and we did this on the Azure Bot Framework. Nirupa will go into that a bit more in our session on what that entails. But it's essentially a rudimentary Q&A bot. And you'll see later in our demo from Nirupa how we use these two phases leading up to leave, returning from work. how we built that into the foundation of how people interact with the bot. Our objectives around the BabyBot centered around kind of 3 focus areas, 3 phases. We were driving awareness of the issues and gaining support from our leadership. Through the awareness piece, we were able to drive immediate impact by having a training for managers jointly with HR to drive awareness around new parent experience and the challenges they face. We plugged into diversity and inclusion initiatives and found executive sponsorship that really helped us propel into being able to build a solution. In the short term, we created a checklist for managers and employees to help them through the new parent experience, understanding what happens when and what to expect next. And we also wanted a longer term solution that was more evergreen, that was more engaging, and that's where the bot came into play. And this is where then developing the bot, all of that takes place. But a bot and any kind of technology isn't successful unless there is adoption. And that's where gaining support and advocacy really helped with the success of our BabyBot. So working as a team, we worked across marketing, engineering, HR, and CELA. And so huge thanks to all those. So it is a team effort to get this off the ground. And so to go into a little bit more about the BabyBot, one of the biggest obstacles as a new parent is gaining access to information while you're on the go. And so the BabyBot is created to be able to be accessible on any device and be accessed from Teams. And so it's data saved for each user to reference. There's natural language capabilities, and the vision is to have an engaging conversation, to be able to ask your questions, but privately. So not necessarily having to go to someone to ask these things. Our bot journey, ideation really happened within these hackathons that we had, which were about 3-day events, where we really tackled what is the problem we're trying to solve for. The core pieces of the execution, I would say, took around 6 to 8 weeks to really understand, okay, this is the framework we're using. This is kind of how we want to set up our questions and answers, our Q&A, and uploading that into be able to have a functioning pilot bot. Of course, customization, testing, finding the right contacts within your company. When you're pioneering something new like this, which is what we were doing within Microsoft, it can extend that execution phase quite a bit longer. It really all depends on your company. And then, of course, launching and the host of activities that we did to drive awareness, blogs that we wrote on internal newsletters and internal sites, speaking at different events about the BabyBot within diversity inclusion meetings and such. And so we think this is a virtual tool that really helps manage the process. And I think especially during the pandemic and working remotely has been really helpful for new parents as well. And so next, I would love to share a short video that captures the essence of what the BabyBot is and what it can do for new parents.
The experience of being a parent is one that changes you in so many ways you can't even imagine. And it's it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this particular topic. I look at new parents or new parents to be, and I think about all the things they have. I can't do this. Sorry, guys.
I love being a dad. Most days, it's very exciting and very energizing.
Just all the new abilities that they acquire.
You can almost see the neurons in her brain firing and joining and growing.
You get to see the world through your kids' eyes.
Seeing the pure joy that children have, there's no better experience as a parent.
Parenting definitely comes with its fair set of challenges.
trying to split the time between them and then also the house, the husband, work. There's just always more than you can possibly get done.
When trying to learn how to transition to becoming a working parent, it was really tough to find the right resources.
Information was in a lot of disparate places. I felt like, am I actually doing this right? Hopefully they'll tell me if I did something wrong. The Microsoft Teams BabyBot has a lot of potential to help new parents demystify processes that we have here at Microsoft.
The BabyBot and Microsoft Teams would be everything in one place, and I'd just be able to take out my phone and ask a quick question and get an answer right away.
Whether they're in the workplace at their desktop or if they're at the doctor's or they need to get the answer to a specific question, the idea of being able to have that right at your fingertips is a really, really wonderful thing. If we can get on this journey together, we're going to be able to reduce the stress, the anxiety, and the kinds of questions that our employees have and make Microsoft the best place for people to be able to balance their career as well as their family aspirations.
And now I'd like to introduce Nirupa Kalathur, the lead PM on the development of the BabyBot. She'll walk you through the BabyBot with a really cool demo and then tell you more about how the BabyBot was created and how it works. I'll hand it over to you, Nirupa.
Thank you, Tal. So I'm Nirupa Kalathur and I work as a program manager with the Azure Cloud Marketing team. My team and I partnered with Tal and her team to enhance the experience of the BabyBot that they built during the hackathon, address some design issues, fix some authentication and security issues, and also mainly enhance the AI technology that was used during the hackathon and take it to the next level. I'll show a quick demo and then we can talk about the components and the approach we used to get to where we are today. For a first-time user, the first thing they would see is the welcome screen. Right after that, if you're not sure what to do, there is a prompter that can actually help you with just quickly getting through some of the cards. For example, you can just type help and the BabyBot actually tells you that this is where you can look at for, the main menu, or if you want to give feedback, things like that. Let me go to the main menu. This is what someone would, using the bot, would typically start with. Let me pick like a simple scenario. Let's say you're looking to prepare for leave. And so when you select that option, the BabyBot will actually return some of the popular questions that users engage with the bot, or other categories that you might want to explore as part of this journey. Let me say top things to do while I'm expecting. Again, there's if you select that subcategory, it leads you to the popular questions within that subcategory. If you're not interested in that, you can go back and choose another option. Right off the bat, it tells you these are the top things you should prepare for, and also suggests some more questions that you might not have thought of, but should perhaps look at from a recommendation point of view. Now, let's say you don't want to go through this journey and just you want to type, that's what I'm expecting. The BabyBot would still give you the same answer, but this would then just use more natural language processing in the back end to find the most appropriate intent and give you what it is you should be doing. We're also really serious about collecting feedback. Like, we want to know if the answers that we're providing actually match with your intention, and so we do ask that you provide whatever feedback that is. Let's say you end up typing something that is unrelated, or the bot doesn't find, we also do not just at that point stop at a dead end. We do provide some other resources and maybe other menus you could look at and then try to find your way to where you want to get to. If you're still not happy, then we actually, again, do ask for more elaborate feedback. Let's see. Where you can actually select, specific options in terms of what you're looking to give. Again, given that this is a Teams bot and there's some private conversations that are being happening, we do throw some privacy disclaimers and only ask that you provide optional email information if you want us to contact back. Now, let me quickly talk about the approach we took to actually get to this experience. One of the first things, we had decided that the channel would be Teams. Of course, Tal's team had already used that as sort of their hackathon platform, but we also did further look into, are there any other channels we should be looking at? But Teams turned out to be the best option because it was accessible. You could use it on multiple devices. It's easy to access. You can type your question anywhere. You don't have to wait to be on network, within your organization, things like that. Design considerations. This was extremely important for us. With a lot of bots, there's always a possibility of ending up with a stubborn bot or just hitting a dead end, or the bot just telling you something you're not interested in. So we wanted to provide a menu system that would make it easy for someone who's using it for the first time to get to where they want to right away, and also provide like some sort of guardrails around, if you go through this path, you'll probably get to what you're looking at as soon as possible. In terms of AI technology, we've used both cognitive services, that is the Q&A Maker and Lewis. We use the Q&A Maker primarily because we already had a lot of resources on our HR website. We essentially took all of that and imported it into the Q&A Maker, making that our primary database. And then added Lewis on top of that, because it's not always possible for us to actually know what a user might end up typing. So we would then use the user's intent to give them the best possible answers at that time. We've also added a question recommender service that would help users with follow-up questions that they might be interested in, if they didn't think of it in the first place. Like I mentioned earlier, privacy and security compliance was extremely important for us while building this bot, especially because we're using AI technology. There's confidential Microsoft specific benefit information. We also wanted to restrict it to US employees only because right now that's what the bot caters to. So given all of that,
so it looks like we lost Narupa for a little bit.
sorry.
Oh, hi.
Hi, am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah. And feedback. I think, any bot journey, evaluating what the user's conversational journey is like, making improvements to that, enhancing it, making the right predictions is absolutely important. So we did also approach it in that manner. Let me just quickly show you some of the things that I just spoke about. This is an example of what I mentioned, the question recommender. So say, for example, I'm just asking what to do if I'm expecting, but then the bot actually uses a machine learning model to predict what might be the best set of questions that you should be looking at next. This is an example of Lewis kicking in, because this is not a question that's actually hosted in our Q&A maker, but we've used Lewis to set up intents so the right answer comes back. This comes from our Q&A maker, and this is an example of a menu and a subcategory that is talking about. And similarly, this is the feedback experience. Let me quickly just talk through the major components that we've used to build this BabyBot. Obviously, our channel was Teams. That's where the bot resides on. And we've used the Azure bot framework to connect between our app, the AI services, and Teams. We've used 2 Azure Cognitive Services, the Q&A Maker, and Lewis. Let me actually quickly show you the sample of our staging knowledge database. You can add new question and pair answers at any given point of time. You can actually import an Excel sheet if you have an existing data source. So you can start with that. You can edit questions or add more phrasing. And then you basically save and train the Q&A maker. This is the example of the intents. This is Lewis. This is the Lewis portal. We did use a pre-built domain. Lewis already comes with a ton of pre-built domains that you can actually use to enhance your bot experience. We've also created custom ones, as you can see here. So any simple commands like feedback, help menu will right away pull up the right cards or the right question and answers. And again, with menu cards, if you're looking to design a bot that's more structured or just makes it easier for the user to get to their answers right away. And if you're hosting it on Teams, I would recommend looking at adaptive cards and some of the design samples that they have and templates. For example, instead of just asking the user an open-ended question as to what type of food they would prefer, you can actually give them some options and then redirect them or just route them in a more structured manner. And we've used MS Graph and Active Directory to set up the authentication. We used a token-based authentication to restrict US employees only in our case. And we've also used a host of storage options, obviously to store the app data, to store the bot state, that includes the conversational and user state. And for the question recommender, we use the blob storage and service bus to trigger the potential questions. So we have a trigger that runs every night. It rebuilds the question cache and then predicts the possible questions that a user might be looking at. Here are some resources that we've already pulled together. You can look at these. This deck will be posted online, so you can go through these. Some of these are actually tutorials, step-by-step options for you to go through and create an app if you have a similar problem at your hand. Tal, do you want to?
Yeah. And I just want to show a video here of one of the other women who helped create the BabyBot, Angela Donahue, and share her perspective at actually going on the parent journey the second time around.
Thank you.
Go ahead and show it.
Let me know if everyone's.
Hi, I'm Angela Donahue, and I've been at Microsoft for about 11 years now. 4 years ago, I had my first child at Microsoft and joined a few other women, Camilla and Tao here, to help the new parent experience after we had what we felt was like maybe not the best experience both before and after having a baby. Over the course of the past couple of years, we're so excited to pilot this BabyBot experience, which brings together all the great information and policies and benefits that Microsoft has into one easy interface on Teams. Microsoft just has such great benefits, and we wanted to figure out how we can consolidate this information, make it more discoverable and really easy to use. And now here I am 4 years later, expecting my second child. And it's so great for me to just have this resource to pull up the app, ask questions any time of day, on my phone, on my PC, get the answers right away. And it links to the exact HR web pages for more information. I also really love that it prompts some other questions. So if there's something that I haven't thought about, I can naturally navigate to learn more. It just makes everything less of a hassle searching on my own or even trying to email or talk to someone live. I hope that this is a tool that will become better over time with everyone's feedback, and we can just take one small little thing off a new parent's plate as they navigate this brand new working parent environment. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that we're happy to have Angela share her perspective on the BabyBot, her first time having a child, not having that as a resource, but then having that the second time around. So we're still on our journey with this bot. Our goal is to get HR to formally take this over and integrate it into our company's HR platform for parental resources. This bot in Teams has, as you can imagine, broad applicability and potentially have many other use cases. The DNI bot is underway, which is another example of using this bot technology to solve an information gap within the company. We hope our journey may inspire some of you attending or watching this later to address some challenges with the Azure Bot Framework, whether it's a new parent initiative and improving the new parent experience or other challenges that you may see. Thank you for taking the time to join our session today. And now I'll turn it over to Camilla, one of the other two women that helped create the BabyBot, and Brian to share some of the questions that you've asked during the session. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. Quick question for you, Nirupa. Looks like you could have built in Bot Framework Composer, right? What would be the pros and cons of that approach?
I don't know the answer to that right away. We already had a project that Tal and her team had sort of started on during the hackathon, so we just used that whatever they sort of built and then built on top of that. Of course, we added a lot more AI security and design options, but personally, I haven't used the Bot Framework Composer, so I'm not sure I have the answer to that right now.
There was another general question around cost, and I'm not sure if that's something we can answer, but I think a lot of people were interested in, what's the general cost to start this and then to maintain it over time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tal, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I can. So I will say, I think it starts with getting great executive sponsorship. When you have an executive sponsor that is behind you on thinking that this is a priority, that we should make this a focus for the organization, then it can help to open up some doors to help fund something like this. For us at Microsoft, diversity and inclusion is a part of our core priorities. And so laddering up to diversity and inclusion allowed us to use that opportunity to get broader support. And we were able to, actually Brian Castilla's team was able to help us, lend us Narupa here, who helped us build the bot. And then it was volunteer time from myself, Camilla, and Angela to drive awareness, to create assets, to market. And then as far as maintaining and actually supplying the bot with the questions, the answers, liaisoning with HR and CELA, that was also on our part to do, with our volunteer time, essentially. And so each week I go in and take a look at the queue of feedback, of questions that didn't return a direct answer. And then I help provide more clarity to the bot and provide the right answers to the bot, so that in the future, when folks ask questions like that again, that they don't have the same experience. And so it does require kind of grassroots efforts to get something like this going. And then, like I mentioned before, the end goal is that HR would then take this over, would integrate it into resources and the platform, so that it all is supported from the company level there. Were there any other questions?
I think there was some questions around whether or not we were going to be releasing the code to GitHub. I think I can answer that one and say that we don't have any plans at this time, but it's a great idea. It's something we should internally talk about.
Yeah, and then I think the last question that was posted, and I think we're out of time, is where shall I find BabyBot? They don't see it in Teams. It is currently enabled for Microsoft employees in the US. Like we mentioned in the beginning of the session, the rollout is a process that takes some time due to privacy limitations and different rules in different countries. So it's not widely available yet, but we're working towards it, and very closely with HR, we have a rollout plan that we hope to implement in the next few months.
Yeah, if you're in the US, you can look up the App Store, and if you're a Microsoft US employee, you should be able to access it.
That's right.
Thank you so much for everyone for joining our session today, and for those who watch it later. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully got something from this that you can take on. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.